What is going on, guys? My name is Ben. How are you guys doing today? I do apologize for this video being up a day later. Yesterday, I had something going on, but I hope you guys had a happy Easter. And without further ado, let's get started. So last week, Apple had hosted an event where they announced, some software updates. They talked about their deconstructing robot Liam for recycled products, and then the products they announced was the iPhone SE and the iPad Pro. So, in terms of software updates, they announced, tvos, the next update for the Apple TV. Then, of course, they announced iOS 9.3, with some additional features. And so, if you guys want to check those out, go ahead and get more information on Apple's website, and we'll just have to wait for the updates to come so that way we can actually play around with it on our devices. Because, this video is mainly going to be about the two hyped products that were announced. And, let's start out with the iPhone SE. So I feel like this is one of the big products because, after watching the event, while the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, as well as the 6S and 6S Plus were released, people were still buying the 5S at the time because they loved the smaller form factor. Some people just wish that they had the specs of the newer phones on that small form factor, which is why Apple created the iPhone SE. It's basically the same housing as the iPhone 5 and 5S, except, with 5S technology pretty much. I mean, you got the fingerprint sensor or the Touch ID sensor with the stainless steel back and then the stainless steel sides. With a 4-inch screen, a lot of people still love that form factor these days. Why is that? Because a lot of people don't want to go to big phones like this Galaxy Note 4 right here, or the Note 5, or the 6 Plus and the 6S Plus. Not even the 6S, believe it or not. Even though the 6S is just, the screen size is just 0.7 inches bigger than the 5 and 5S. But apparently people still do not like the increased size. After getting used to the iPhone 3G, 3GS, and then getting used to the iPhone 4, 4S, and then now the 5 and 5S, got a slightly bigger screen. A lot of people really love that design, which is why Apple decided to create the iPhone SE, ditch the iPhone 5S, so that way every phone are the same specs in their iPhone lineup, except you got different sizes and different capacity and configurations with different carrier choices. That's why Apple created the iPhone SE. And they were talking about this in the event, after I watched it, after making my recap video. They were mentioning this. So they actually stated that people were still buying their 4-inch phones. That was a very popular lineup. Therefore, they wanted to create the SE so that way everybody gets the faster speeds that they get with the newer devices in a smaller package. And, me personally, that kind of makes sense because you still have people that are still using the old iPhones, believe it or not. I still see some people with a 5S right now. And some people are even drastic and still have a 4 or a 4S. Why would they still have a phone that old? I have no idea. The 5S, I can kind of understand it because a lot of people still prefer the smaller form factor. Me personally, I prefer a much bigger phone. Ever since I started using my Galaxy Note 4, after the iPhone 5, this is the device for me. This is something that I want, and this is something that I can hold a lot better in my hands versus, the little iPhone. Well, in this case, I have my iPad, and just trying to hold it, type on a keyboard. I mean, I much prefer a bigger phone form factor, and that's why me personally, if the iPhone 5S had to be ditched completely, I can really care less for that. I mean, yes, it's still a good phone, but I would much rather try to spend the money on a 6 Plus or a 6S Plus, or better yet, just any phone in general that has a screen size of 5.5 inches or bigger than that. This one right here is 5.7. The 6S Plus was 5.5. 0.2 inches difference, but the phone is still big and the screen is still big. It's just easier for the people to read on. and to navigate on your device. I just feel like with a bigger screen, you get better visibility and you get better productivity in yourself versus using a smaller phone. But then again, personal preference. I much prefer the bigger phone. I probably wouldn't even spend the money on the 6S. I would try to spend it on the 6S Plus, since we're talking iPhones in this case. Of course, if we're talking about, okay, what about cross-platform wise, then that might be slightly different. But then again, we're just talking specifically about iPhones right here. So me personally, I would still get the 6S Plus, although that wasn't a bad idea on an Apple's part to create the SE. At first I did hear about it. I didn't believe it at first because it's like, why would Apple do such a thing? And with their 4-inch form factor, they still have the 5S. Now I know why. They try to give people the faster speeds that they want in a newer phone. They just want it in a smaller size. This makes sense. I mean, look at Samsung created the Galaxy S6, and then you still have the Note 5. No, because some people still prefer a smaller phone. That's the S6. And then the Note 5 is for people who wants to use a bigger phone. Now you have the S7 and the S7 Edge. The S7 has a smaller screen, while the S7 Edge has a bigger screen with curved edges. And then who knows what will happen when the Note 6 comes out. Then it's you make a decision if you want the one with the curved screen or the one with a flat screen or the one that's just smaller. So now I see why Apple would create the SE. And me personally, I think their sales are just gonna go up more. And plus, they're pretty much charging the SE at the same price as the the iPhone 5S. Except now the iPhone 5S is off of the iPhone lineup right now, and you got the iPhone SE in place. So that's my thoughts about the iPhone SE. All right. Now let's talk about the iPad Pro 9.7 inch. So the iPad Pro, they released an iPad Pro earlier or towards the end of last year. And now they announced another model for the iPad Pro, except with a 9.7 inch screen. So this is a much smaller iPad Pro. And it's the same form factor as an iPad Air 2, except it has the specs of an iPad Pro, plus with the support of the Apple Pencil in a smaller form factor. Again, this is the same thing that Apple has done for the iPhone 6S and 6S Plus, except they're doing it with the iPad Pro. Apparently a lot of people love the iPad Pro. They love the extra power that's in there. They love the extra screen real estate. They love the fact that they can use the Apple Pencil. Steve Jobs would never consider adding a stylus, I think, because I remember when I first saw the event when he announced the iPhone first generation, he even showed in the slideshow a stylus coming down to the screen. And he said, no, we don't want to use a stylus. You have to carry these things around and then you wind up losing them. Now, Tim Cook has this a different approach where he added the stylus back on there but made it better. Now, would Steve Jobs still approve of that today? I have no idea. And Tim and Steve kind of think a little bit similar, but it seems like they both have their own different viewpoints, unless if Steve Jobs had already prepared them, and then at some point they would have to figure everything out on their own. I have no idea what the story is on that, but for a smaller iPad Pro to be announced, that's great for people who want the extra power. Me personally, I still don't see how the iPad Pro could have been existed in the first place. I mean, yeah, you got a bigger screen real estate with more power, but I'm not 100% sure what the operating system can do to utilize all that power. I mean, it's like using a full computer. How are you going to utilize all the power in your very expensive computer with the i7 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and then you got a very nice screen with an optical drive with a dedicated graphics card. I mean, for gamers, that's for sure. In terms of the iPad, it's like, it's more for productivity and then basic media creation. But with the iPad Pro, a lot that's gotten better now versus using it on the iPad Air 2. But then again, it's like me personally, I wouldn't create media on just by touchscreen. I would have to have a mouse and a keyboard. Yeah, that's just my personal preference. Maybe for some people it's doable. For me, it's just not the case. But if you want the iPad Pro but in a smaller package, now customers have that option. And not only that, but there's actually another capacity added on there. And if I recall correctly, I think that was 256 gigabytes. It was somewhere in that range. I have to check back again. But, after 128, now you have 250 something gigabytes. I think it was 256. Don't quote me on that. I know it's been a week since I remembered it. But, that's crazy to put in a tablet. Yeah, that's a crap load of internal storage you have right there on your tablet. What could you be storing on there? Well, okay, since the iPad Pro, is more like for media creation, okay, how about iMovie? You can download iMovie and then create a bunch of movies or videos of memories or acting out things, whatever the case may be. And, if you have the camera connection kit, you can plug it up and then store lots of pictures on it and videos if the format is supported by the iOS device, or in this case, the iPad Pro. So, I mean, I think a lot of people would be going for the 9.7-inch iPad Pro more than with the bigger one they have right now, because I think people would have liked to see the same speeds and the same specs in the iPad Air 2, but giving them the ability with a smaller form factor. And now they're able to do that. They just have to get the iPad Pro with a 9.7-inch screen, and then they can pick their capacities from there. And then, of course, you still have the iPad Air 2 and then the iPad Minis. Other than that, that's pretty much their iPad lineup. And, in terms of the product line, it's great and all. Me personally, I'm not that crazy about it, but it gives customers more options. And that's what I like to see. Because, yeah, it may get confusing at times on which particular device you want, but I feel like, the more options you have, the more you get to decide, okay, which one is right for you. And if you go into the store to check it out, that's even better, so that way you'll know, okay, what's the best fit for you. What I've discovered after this event was like, in terms of the product line, I still prefer a bigger phone, and as far as the tablet's concerned, mid-size would be all right. I don't have to go anything drastic like the largest iPad Pro they have. The iPad Air 2, or in this case, the iPad Pro with the 9.7-inch screen would be the perfect size for me. The iPad Mini, that might be doable for me, but, in terms of the Apple's tablet line, I would prefer like the iPad Pro 9.7-inch screen or the iPad Air 2. And in this case, I'd probably try to get the Pro, so that way I get the faster speeds with more power, and it's newer. They haven't announced a new iPad Air yet, but I'm pretty sure they will later on in the year. I don't know. Just wait for the rumors to respond, and I'll look once in a while, but I won't talk about it until the actual announcement is made. All right, so that's it. What do you guys think about these new software updates and these new products announced by Apple? Were you excited? Were you not excited? Were you disappointed, or were you, praising Apple that they did a great job, whatever? I mean, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Thanks so much for watching, and thank you for being patient, for me being uploading this video a day after. I mean, I did post it on Twitter. If you guys do follow me on Twitter, that I apologize. I'm not going to be able to upload this till the next day. Thank you for sticking around, and please subscribe, rate, comment. Also, check out the description below for my social media links, Twitter and Instagram. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.